Exactly 50 years ago, something special started in Bowden, Alberta. Since then, the Alberta Conference Camp meeting has touched many lives. And this year, we'd like to go back to how it all began. With the very first theme we had at Foothills Camp. We invite you to the 2023 Alberta Conference Camp meeting. Come join us to celebrate 50 years of moving by His Spirit.
Welcome to another conference happening with Debbie. Today I have somebody very special with me because this is my new boss. And by the time you get to see this, you'll have probably already met her because she will be at camp meeting. She and her family are just in the process now of moving here, and this is her first day. Welcome to Melissa.
Thank you very much, Debbie.
And let's go through the whole name. It's Pastor Melissa Cooke.
I have a middle name. Shall I include that too?
If you want to.
Yes. My middle name is Verily. Like the Bible verse, verily, verily, I say unto you, spelled differently, V-R-A-L-Y. It's special to me because it's my mother's middle name as well. So Pastor Melissa Verily Cooke, but you can call me Pastor Melissa. That's just fine.
Okay, thank you. Well, I do want to ask you a little bit about yourself because nobody knows you. Maybe some of the classmates you had at one point in time, and we'll get to that. But I'm just wanting to know a little bit about your origin.
Sure. A lot of people ask me, where are you from? And I say, well, what do you mean, right? Because it's a complicated question. I can start from the beginning. So both my parents are from El Salvador. My mother is from Usulután, and my father is from San Salvador, which is the main city. They're both Salvadorian. They met in Texas, however, Houston, Texas, and got married there, and that's where I was born. They came illegally to the States. So I was born and became an American citizen, but they were not. And so right in that year I was born, in 1985, they decided, hey, let's get citizenship. And at that time, Canada and Australia were offering packages, citizenship, language classes, just promoting immigration. And my family chose to move there.
So Canada.
To Canada. So at 10 months old, my family moved from Houston, Texas to Toronto, Canada. And that's where my life and my memory, that's where all that began. So,
well, you're very Canadian.
I am Canadian. When people ask me, where are you from? I tell them, well, I'm Canadian.
Yes.
Because I grew up in Toronto, and that's, what our home and most of my family still is. I have two older brothers, a younger sister, a father and a mother. My mother passed away, I want to say about 4 years ago. But she is asleep in Jesus, so that's lovely.
Were you Adventist? Were they Adventists when they came to the United States?
I believe so. Yes, I think that in Texas they were attending church and kind of became Adventist.
So you grew up as an Adventist?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you had a wonderful background. You have a story, which most of us have a story of some sort. And you were in Toronto. But why did you want to move?
Yeah, thank you. Toronto is full of life and
Yes.
all hours of night food, which I still enjoy when I go back with my brothers. But when I was, I want to say 13, is it 13 when we go to high school? Forgive me. When I was ready to go to grade 9,
Okay.
I was looking at the different high schools to go to and just kind of what my friends were into. At public school, they started smoking in grade 5. And I just wasn't about that. And I just kind of saw their paths going in places where I really didn't want to be a part of.
So where did you end up?
So my family decided for me to go up to Kingsway. So I am a alumnus of Kingsway College and had a wonderful time there. It's what shaped me and my desire to serve in ministry. gave me the opportunity to do camp and many things. So
Oh.
Kingsway is when I left, and I want to say that that's when I left Toronto. I never really went back except for maybe summers.
Yeah, not to live permanently.
Right. Yeah.
So from Kingsway, then what did you find your path? Where did you find your path going?
So as most Canadian graduates from high school are encouraged to come to Canadian University College at that time,
Right.
now Burman University. And I had looked around to see what I wanted to do, but I really wasn't sure yet. I found that I loved the outdoors. And so CUC at that time offered an ABLE program, Adventure-Based Youth Leadership. And that's the program that I entered when I came here. I did my first year and realized that although I love the outdoors, I really do, and I've done a lot in the past years. Once having kids, you do a little bit less, but I would love to get back into it. I wanted to serve God like more specifically. And growing up, my culture, because I attended a Hispanic church, very traditional. Women were not pastors. Like it wasn't even an option. So it was never an option for me at that time. In my brain, it was like, you can go into ministry, but what kind of ministry? And hospital chaplaincy is what I kind of decided on. And so after my first year at CUC, now Burman, I went to Southern, and they offer a pastoral care program, which is very close to a theology program, with the exception of a few classes focusing on counseling, kind of social work type, instead of like the preaching and the evangelism. And then a practicum is different. So we do a unit of CPE for a summer, and I did that at Kettering while I was there.
Okay.
So I went from Burman 1 year, went to Pastoral Care Southern for about 3 years, but unfortunately I didn't finish there.
So why didn't you? I mean, what changed?
Well, student loans and money. I come from an immigrant family, a poor family, and I was taking loans out to pay for my tuition,
Right.
which then that debt kind of piles up, and I reached a point that I could no longer continue. So instead, I took about 6 months off and went to the task force.
Okay.
I worked, I was supposed to be a dean, but when I got there, it kind of changed. So instead, I was the secretary registrar for a school called Laurelwood Academy.
Oh, I know where that is too.
In Oregon.
You've been all over the country.
I have.
I love
I love to travel, and I love to meet people, and the countries are beautiful. Anyway, so I went to Oregon for about 6 months. Beautiful people, beautiful
Yes.
school. We went to Honduras on a mission trip. Like, it was amazing. And when that time finished, I prayed to God. I said, God, what am I going to do? If I have all this student loan for nothing, like I want to be able to show something for it. And I returned to Toronto to be with my mom for, I would say, another 6 months. I worked as a security guard for downtown Toronto.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was fun.
Brave.
God is good. God actually, he created a job for me because I didn't want to work on Sabbaths. I wouldn't. And they realized that I like paperwork, okay? I like details. And so they opened up a room for me, and it was full of boxes of like security reports. And they have different sites. So it was done by site and date, but it wasn't organized.
Oh dear.
The security guards would just come in and just drop them. So they created a job for me to sort it and to, organize it, etc. And that was a blessing because I could work on my own hours, and I could organize it, and I could listen to whatever. So that's the time where I was listening to a ton of like Spirit of Prophecy books that are on audio. It was great. But in that time, I was able to save up money enough to be able to come back to Burman University, to CUC.
Okay.
And I returned. God made that all possible, and did a minor in philosophy with Dr. Samraj. Often I was his only student, but it was super fun, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And then was able to transfer my credits from Southern and be able to graduate from CUC at that time with a religious studies degree.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
that was my educational path.
So did you end up going as a pastor somewhere right after graduation?
My intention was not. I just wanted a paper, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. And but yes, yeah, God opened that door, and we prayed At that time, I was dating my husband at that time, Jason. We prayed to see, where do you want us, God? Because ultimately, I want to serve God, whether that is, in ministry and official in the church, or even as a lay minister, right? I'm happy to do that too. And the Alder Grove Seventh-day Adventist Church was looking for a children's pastor at that time. And we connected Pastor David Jameson, and I was hired on to their team.
So let's just stop for a minute, and that's probably when you got married.
Correct.
Yes. And is your husband from there?
Yes, my husband was born and raised in Langley, British Columbia, and Alder Grove is right off of Langley. Mm-hmm. So yes, I don't think he was intending to marry a pastor, but that's kind of how it happened. But yes, 2010 was a great year for me. I graduated, I started as a pastor, and I got married. So all those three huge events happened in that year.
So just in your family group now, you have a husband, you have 2 children?
2 children, yes. My eldest is named Edward, and he's 10. He was born 2013. And Joshua is my youngest, and he was born 2017. And I like to joke that I had one child, and then I had seminary, and then I had another child. So they're like the
bookends.
Yes, of seminary. Yes.
Okay, and now you also have a puppy.
I do, yes. His name is Hobbs, and he's a purebred Yorkshire Terrier, and he was born in New Brunswick, so he's our little fur baby.
Let's go back and see what you were doing. You were in Alder Grove, you got married. Did you have a child there?
Yes, at the end. So I started in 2010, and then Eddie was born in April 2013.
Oh, okay.
So I served for about that time, those 3 years, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. Just under 3 years, I suppose. And went on maternity leave because Canada is blessed to be able to provide women with that opportunity, parents. So I came back to Alder Grove to continue after my maternity leave year. And shortly after that, within months, right after camp meeting, I went to seminary.
So you do 2.5 years, 3 years at seminary, is that
I asked for 3.
Okay.
Because I had a 14-month-old, 12-month, yeah, he was 13, 14 months, yeah. And I don't believe in neglecting my family. Funny, Debbie, when I first came into ministry, I vowed to myself I would not have children, because I didn't want to neglect my children.
Right.
But God had other plans, and it's a blessing. They're a blessing to me. They have grown me and changed me and helped me to be a better person, to understand the love of God to us and as a parent,
So then the end of seminary, you had another baby.
I was pregnant in my last semester of seminary, which was hard, but fun.
Oh, okay.
Because like my last pregnancy, I was like can't focus, so hungry, But the professors were great, and it was just the last summer intensive. So we kind of wanted to plan it that way. I wanted my kids to be as close as possible, and I mean God's plans. So yes.
So did you have a call to go someplace else after seminary, or were you going back to Alder Grove?
I didn't. Right in my last year, we didn't know what would happen. And so again, we took to prayer, because ultimately I just want to serve God. So if that means within the Adventist church, wonderful. And if it doesn't, then that's fine too. God has a path for me, and that's what we believed. So we wanted to come back to British Columbia, period, because that's where Jason's family is, and my mother-in-law helps. She's an amazing help with the children.
Sure.
So we were going to come back anyway. And so as we prayed, God opened the door for me to go back to British Columbia, even the lower mainland, to a church that's called Abbotsford Seventh-day Adventist, where the conference is in the same city, as an associate pastor, but I focused really on children and youth. And so, yes, I went back. I told them in my interview, I am pregnant. So I wanted to be clear. Like, I don't want to be hiding anything. This is who I am. Just want you to know I'm pregnant. And I know that, they could have said, that's going to not work with us. But I just wanted to be upfront. And through God's grace, they hired me anyway. And so I worked in Abbotsford for a few months and then had my baby. So I had another year of leave, and then returned to Abbotsford to serve, to continue serving.
Is that where you were commissioned?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
after graduating with your master's and coming back. So I think you came from the Maritimes.
Yes.
Just recently, like in the last week.
Yes.
So how did you get to the Maritime Conference?
The Maritime Conference is a beautiful conference. I just want to say, if you ever have a chance, please come out there. Yeah, that's so fun. I stayed in Abbotsford until 2017, so I want to say another 3 years. We had a brand new senior pastor come in, and we were just adjusting, and it was great. It was a really good situation. And just kind of out of the blue, the president there called me and asked for my name to stand on this search committee. And I was surprised, because I never searched for it, right? I never was like, where can I get my name? Because I don't believe in fame within the Adventist church. We'll say it that way. That's not something that should come together like that. So I'm not looking to
be out there and so everybody knows who you are,
right,
and what
yeah,
you do.
To get my career going,
Right.
like that kind of thing.
Right.
Like that's not who I am, and nor what I desire. And so I laughed, and I did laugh when he talked with me about that. And my husband said, you know what, it's a good thing just to put your name out there. And so through that process, I actually forgot that my name was actually on that.
Oh.
I just prayed. I was like, God, I want you to be wherever you want me to be, and that's my prayer. And eventually, they called back and said, hey, we want to offer you this position as executive secretary, which is a conference position at the Maritime Conference. And I honestly was very surprised. But we did pray about it. I asked if we could pray about it, because I hadn't really thought about it, as I was so invested in Abbotsford and what was going on, and making sure that, everything was taken care of, the ministry was moving forward. So we prayed about it and really felt that this was something that God had opened a door for us. And I believe if God opens a door, that you should walk through it. And oftentimes when I'm unsure about what's happening or how I should move forward, I ask God specifically to close those doors so that I will know His will very, very purposefully, very specifically. And so that's what happened. It was very sad. I cried. I cried to leave the Abbotsford church. They're really close to my heart. I was married in the Abbotsford church, and so I had, it's such a wonderful church family.
So did the Maritime Conference know that you liked detail and you liked to, that security job?
Yeah.
The details.
Yeah. Someone told them, Debbie. I don't know. And I never asked either, like, who shared my name. I don't know. God bless them. I don't need to know, because...
How long were you there?
In the Maritimes. I would say just under 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So coming to Alberta, you've got vast experience of being the executive secretary.
I wouldn't say vast, but I definitely have some experience. I'm grateful for the Maritime Conference and all the lovely people there that were patient with me, that taught me, that helped me learn. But yes, the executive secretary job is important, right, to the conference and its function. Before this, I didn't really understand what even they did. As some pastors, right? As a
That's
pastor,
right.
I didn't even think about what the conference did. But as I have learned, the organization itself as an institution, it's needed for the whole thing to run beautifully and smoothly.
Well, it kind of is the place where all the records are kept and
Exactly.
all of those kinds of things. And
Yeah.
and here in the Alberta Conference, we do have a human resource officer that does the hiring and all those records. But there's many other things that the executive secretary does. I've done it. I've been in that department for 12 years. So I have a little bit of an understanding, and I know that you know the things that we will be doing together most of the time.
Yes.
You will be doing. Does that make it hard for you to do the other love that you have, and that's preach?
No, I don't think it's going to be in conflict at all. I believe that, as was modeled to me by previous conference administrators, it's important to balance that, right? To both be in the churches, to speak and preach and present when you're asked to, and to really mingle with the people. It is ministry. It is just a different type of ministry. And I think that it'll work, you know. I just have to be able to adjust my schedule to be able to be both available for the record keeping and all that which entails in the executive secretary job, but also be out in the churches and mingling with people and eating the delicious potlucks.
Oh yes,
and all of the good things.
We have good
making
food
memories
in Alberta. We have good food in Alberta. We do caution you though to make sure that you have a work-life balance.
Of course,
because it can be all time consuming on occasion, and we don't want you to neglect that family that I know you won't. You know, there's lots of things that we're going to do, and you have vision that maybe we can change or we can do better. So I'm looking forward to working with you to do this.
Me too.
It will be fun. So, you know, if there is anything else that you would like to tell the members, I know that during camp meeting you will be introduced along with your family. So prepare them.
Yes.
so that we can make sure just to have everybody welcome you, because it's easy to welcome you. You're fun-loving, you're smiling, you're laughing. You're very a people person, so we know that you're going to do just fine here.
I appreciate it.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the members?
Yeah, I suppose I want to just share from my heart, I guess, a little bit that I'm humbled to be here, part of the Alberta Conference. I look forward to meeting everybody, as many people as I can. My brain may not capture everyone's face and names, but I still look forward to it, and I absolutely will try to get to know as many people as possible for the purpose of serving God better together. You know, I think that the Adventist Church is at a point in history where we are on the precipice of change, of something beautiful. And that may mean having those hard conversations, maybe making apologies. But it's time for us to hold on to each other, hold each other accountable, and to be able to grow as people, as churches, as the conference, as the Adventist Church, and really reflect that face of Jesus, that the hands and feet of Jesus, the love of Jesus to our communities, and impact the world for good, to be that light that the Bible asks us to be, that salt. And I believe that we have that opportunity now. And if we can, you know, take each other's hands, we can walk forward in this bright future together.
Thank you so much for being with me today, Melissa, because it's been informative to me, because I haven't had a chance to sit down with you yet, but it's something that we will all learn to love about you and your family. So thank you for being with me.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And
please welcome the Cooke family as you mingle at camp meeting, and just come up and talk to her and just tell her where you're from. And she might not remember until she goes to your church. Then she will remember. But thank you for being with me today.
Thank you.